The Defence Secretary, John Healey, has said Britain is stepping up their response to shadow vessels. And as this new vessel sails past the coast of Guernsey, well, will the UK intervene again? And what will that mean as far as Russian retaliation comes along? Catherine Philp is the World Affairs editor of The Times. Hello to you, Catherine.
Hi, John.
Hi. So I guess this latest ship sailing through the Channel, a Russian ship under a Cameroonian flag, it is another test for the United Kingdom.
It is, but the passage of these ghost ships from Russia's shadow fleet through waters close to British territorial waters has been quite common over the last few years, even since sanctions were brought on these ships. The question is, why is Britain choosing to act now, and at whose direction?
Yes.
Now, obviously, the exercise in which the British military took part with the ship that the Americans were pursuing, that was actually part of the US action against Venezuela, not against the Russian ghost fleet. So it remains to be seen whether the US are now planning to go after the Russian fleet themselves holistically, and whether Britain is going to be part of that, or whether we have decided now to take more action against the Russian fleet.
I mean, has there been, and have you heard, a clear justification for the action that we saw yesterday against a ship that was arrested by America in open seas for breaking Venezuela sanctions, not British sanctions, and yet British played an active part? How's that explained on the British side?
Well, it's problematic, I would say. You're getting into difficult territory when you get onto these issues of sanctions and international waters and such like, because really it's only justified under your own domestic law. So US law would say it was fine for the US to interdict that ship. British law, I think that would be more complex, because we haven't sanctioned that ship. It was sanctioned by the Americans. So it would need for someone to want to take that case to court and rule upon it. And I think that that's unlikely to happen. But the other issue, of course, which links to this, this notion of what we're going to do about the Russians, is, of course, that this ship, although it appears not to have been registered anywhere, although it was trying to come from Venezuela, had reflagged itself nominally as a Russian ship. And so Russia has taken predictable umbrage at this and treated it as if it's an assault on a Russian ship and a Russian crew. This usually plays out not in the legal sphere, but in retaliatory behavior from Russia. And Russia is much more likely to pick on the UK to retaliate or disrupt than it would the US.
Okay, Catherine, great to talk to you. Thank you. Catherine Philp there.
European and American allies, side by side with President Zelensky, standing for peace. And we are closer to that goal than ever. But of course, the hardest yards are still ahead. We signed a declaration of intent on the deployment of forces to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal. This is a vital part of our iron-cast commitment to stand with Ukraine for the long term. It paves the way for the legal framework under which British, French and partner forces could operate on Ukrainian soil, securing Ukraine's skies and seas and regenerating Ukraine's armed forces for the future.
The U.S. military's Southern Command released footage on Wednesday showing what it said were American troops and helicopters seizing a tanker linked to Venezuela. The vessel, called Sofia, was one of two tankers seized on Wednesday. The other was a Russian-flagged ship nabbed near Iceland. The Marinera tanker had refused to be boarded last month and had switched to Russia's flag. A White House spokesperson said that the operation was aimed at enforcing sanctions on Venezuelan oil exports.
And this was a Venezuelan shadow fleet vessel that has transported sanctioned oil. And the United States of America, under this president, is not going to tolerate that.
With a Russian submarine and other vessels nearby, the move risked more confrontation with Moscow, which has condemned U.S. actions over Venezuela. Russia's transport ministry said contact with the vessel had been lost after U.S. naval forces boarded it near Iceland. Russia said the U.S. seizure of a Russian-flagged tanker was a violation of maritime law, and a senior lawmaker described it as, quote, outright piracy. The seizures were the latest example of U.S. President Donald Trump's aggressive push to dictate oil flows in the Western Hemisphere. After capturing Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in an attack on Caracas on Saturday, the U.S. is continuing to blockade vessels under sanctions off the South American country. Trump has openly spoken of controlling Venezuela's vast oil reserves in conjunction with U.S. oil companies after arresting and jailing Maduro.
Step one is the stabilization of the country. We don't want it descending into chaos. Part of that stabilization, and the reason why we understand and believe that we have the strongest leverage possible, is our quarantine. As you've seen today, 2 more ships were seized. We are in the midst right now and, in fact, about to execute on a deal to take all the oil. They have oil that is stuck in Venezuela. They can't move it because of our quarantine and because it's sanctioned. We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil. We're going to sell it in the marketplace at market rates, not at the discounts Venezuela was getting. That money will then be handled in such a way that we will control how it is dispersed in a way that benefits the Venezuelan people, not corruption, not the regime. So we have a lot of leverage to move on the stabilization front.
The level of sophistication that Senate just was briefed on and the House was briefed on, a classified level, is something only the United States of America can accomplish. The world is taking notice of that. Certainly Venezuela is taking notice of that. And it continues because 2 oil tankers, 2 overnight, were seized by the United States of America, stateless or sanctioned, because the oil blockade, the quarantine of oil out of unsanctioned or sanctioned or stateless vessels continues. That leverage will continue. As Secretary Rubio outlined. So our military is prepared to continue this. As he said, the president, when he speaks, he means it. He's not messing around. We are an administration of action to advance our interests, and that is on full display.